question has to do with faith here. Faith without discipline really ultimately means not much at all. It doesn't do anything other than give you the semblance, the simulation of something grand that's happening in you. Even it can take the shape of, or the outside appearance of, rather, of some transformation taking place within you, when it's not. If it is, it's simply very, very, very temporary. It's extremely superficial. The breezes of time will come and blow it away in a second. And you're going to be shocked to see yourself being one way now, and then a few seconds later, all that is gone, and then you have to negotiate to yourself, well, what was that all about? Like, it must have meant something to me, but here I am in the same state as I was before. I thought I overcame that, but I haven't overcome anything, it seems. And that can cause a person to be in these perpetual fluctuations or ups and downs cycles, plural. Discipline is paramount. Lord Buddha makes this clear again and again and again. The mind will always come to try to tell you that discipline is unnecessary. There are exceptions. That's what the mind says. That's what the mind wants you to believe. Especially when it adds to that phrase, completing the sentence, except for you. You don't need discipline, that's what I'm saying. You do not need discipline because you're special. My case is special. That's what the mind wants you to believe. It's not just you, by the way. You and every Joe Schmo out there has been wanting to believe that. It's countless. You know, if you look around, just to see practitioners, just the ones in your life, if you're really being honest, really, truly being honest, you're going to see some indications here and there that tell you this person is not growing or has not grown for a long time. So most of the time people are telling themselves lies to keep the appearances going. You see this a lot with teachers and their students. You see this even more so in communities. So what is carrying them over to the next phase of life, or tomorrow, is just what you can consider superficial. Rites and rituals, attire, what they look like, how they wear their, if they're monastics, their robes, if they wear robes, how they go through their day. Slowly, slowly it becomes a lexicon of that community, of that society. Again, it doesn't have to just be about monastics. It could be about lay people just as well. No growth happens when you're relying on pure faith. Lord Buddha did not start and stop with faith. When he listed, for example, the 5 spiritual faculties, Pancha Indriya we call it, he didn't stop with Saddha. Saddha in Buddhism is that faith, is that strong confidence, is that igniting power. But what do you do with that? It's a spark. But faith as being the progenitor of the exciting factor, if you will, doesn't stay like that, because now you need to add more fuel, and that's where virya comes in, the second faculty. That's spiritual. Now from Saddha and virya coming together, you have enough of a momentum being built up to go ahead and maintain sati, to maintain mindfulness. Now, it's not the kind of mindfulness that occurs when everything is right, everything is going smoothly, everything is beautiful, your body's not complaining, the walls, right now there's somebody against the wall knocking with a hammer. I don't know if it's being, the sound is coming through, but outside factors. Is there sati there? So your body might start acting out. Your mind might start acting out, bringing in memories that you really never asked for. Your heart might get agitated. Your mind may become restless. Can you watch that? Or when certain situations are presenting you with the fertile soil for you to go berserk, to drop the Dhamma, to ignore, to be stubborn, to ignore the Dhamma, basically. Where's sati then? So do you see now where I'm, what I'm trying to say in regards to sati, virya, and saddha at the bottom? The one where it all starts from. And discipline involved. It's because of these, that's when you're going to have samadhi. That stable collectedness of mind. And from those 4, now you will have panya, wisdom. Through and through, however, there's discipline. Without discipline, your faith means nothing, ultimately. I mean, you look around in other cultures, other religions, the so-called faith is actually, I was mentioning faith being like a spark. Okay, that spark can start wildfires, can destroy entire continents if you let it be. And that's what you have with some religions, with some denominations, where that so-called faith it turns blind, by the way, because there's no wisdom there. There's no honesty there. There's no calling into question the integrity of the faith. What is it established on? Because you can have a very strong faith, a faithful heart based on ignorance. And there goes another life. Telling yourself that you've lived with faith. You have a lot of individuals who have now, especially in Buddhism, let's just talk about that, who have made it their primary goal to advocate for faith. in their books, in their teachings. It's very fuzzy. It's very like, oh, lovey, 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 dovey, and all that. But when push comes to shove and you see these practitioners, so-called practitioners, in real-life situations, the ugliness comes out. Or there is some type of a suppression. It's blind. It's maimed. That's not a proper practice. It will never take you to wisdom, by the way. This is not the path of Lord Buddha's. If you're practicing like that, if you're top-heavy on just faith, or using that as your MO or modus operandi, where you're thinking, well, yeah, I have faith, and that's all that matters. That should be fine. If my faith is going to pull me through. Well, faith is important. We do not negate the importance of faith, but we never, ever stop there. Because remember, you're not coming from a clean slate as far as your mind is concerned. Meaning, you are already quite deluded to begin with. There's plenty of ignorance. It's like having to work with white, clean sheets, curtains or fabric, while you've been outside and working in the yard. Your hands are quite dirty. Maybe you were fixing the plumbing in the bathroom. And then you come over and you start fixing with those hands, by the way, fixing the drapes, the covers, the sheets with those same hands. Sullied hands, dirty hands. Are those sheets going to remain crisp, white, clean, washed, pristine, pure? No. So this is why you have plenty of examples in history of the world where individuals, in the name of faith, ended up undertaking such terrible, terrible actions based on faith. Lofty, you know? So faith on its own is, so, basically. That's what it generates in me when you say, I have faith. Okay, so? That's not a complete sentence. Faith is not a complete sentence. You need discipline. You need wisdom to go along with it, to direct the faith. Because that spark could actually ignite and start a forest fire, destroying lives and livestock and everything. Or it can help heal, it can help cleanse, it can help purify. It can get rid of garbage, trash. It can help the soil, if you do it correctly, to even become rejuvenated, revived, with new energy. So, is your life, that becomes, my question to your question, is your life more enriched? And is it becoming more enriched day by day in the presence of your faith? How about your relationships? The quality. I'm not talking about the quantity of different relationships, because some people love to be in as many relationships as possible because that's how they value their importance in life, given the relationships that they've had, the number of relationships. Here, there. Why I have so many different connections I've made over the years, or friends, this, that, and that becomes, the qualifier for their life. But you poke and you scratch the surface and you look inside, and there's sadness, there's misery, there's inauthenticity. People get stuck and have gotten stuck at the faith level. And when you get stuck, guess what? You will not make the most of faith. In fact, it will turn unwholesome. It will start eating itself up. It will start eating others up. It will start destroying your life. Because there's no balance. It can only be balanced when it is being properly aligned, your faith, and supervised and put into practice through the medium of discipline, which has to be well thought out, not just any discipline. Otherwise, it's going to be another suppressive mode of existing, which usually in our history as human beings, it goes and becomes part of a cult. And that you have plenty of that around you. Many people have been trying to turn Buddhism into that, by the way. Not just Buddhism, but I'm just talking from that side. No, it's not just the Vajrayana, not just the Mahayana, but you see this a lot also in Theravada. Not just recently, by the way. For centuries. You know there's no Dhamma there. There's no Buddha's teachings there. Why? Because people want to turn it, the Dhamma, into, or look at the Dhamma, or try to see the Dhamma through that tiny little lens, murky, polluted, unpure lens of theirs. So by living as a commentator of the Dhamma in your life, instead of simply trying to listen and trying to see and apply faith in the proper way by looking at the teachings of Lord Buddha and seeing what is he saying. Is there ego there? Is there conceit there? Is there self-aggrandizement there? Is there blindness there? Or seeking of blind following? Is it there? Then why are you bossing yourself around? By ignoring wisdom. So, if you notice, there's a lot of balancing involved. That's why Lord Buddha, to help students learn and understand better and correctly, in case the 5 spiritual faculties were not enough, he also introduced several other formulas to assist, not to complicate, but to simplify, to give you a better and clearer picture in case you don't get it the first time. And here I'm referring to the 7 factors of awakening, Satta Bojjhanga, or Sambojjhanga. The 7 factors, which are all about seesawing, all about balancing. There, the list starts with sati. Then you have Dhammavicaya, which is all about looking at the different states that are happening clearly, scrutinizing your mind carefully. But you can't do that without sati, so that's why he listed it as number 1, right? And then you have vidya, which is energy, which allows you to maintain those 2. Once you have these 3, then you can easily take things too seriously. So that's why you need to introduce something light-hearted, like uplifting, and that's where we have piti, spiritual joy. But if you have too much of that, then you're going to burn up with excitedness, and the mind's going to get restless. That's not good either. So what do? You introduce tranquility of mind. Tranquility of mind, pasaddhi. Now once you have that, augmented, supported by the others that came before it, and are there, before it only as far as the list goes, by the way, because the other ones are not like we graduated, we moved away, and we don't have to worry about those. No, it never is like that. The others are there, but I'm just, trying to list them while briefly explaining what each one does, briefly. And then, after the tranquility of mind, we get to samadhi, collectedness of mind, which also has within it concentration, which also has within it discipline. Each of these, by the way, has within it what? Discipline. That's why you're able to sit in samadhi. That's why you're able to get into samadhi. And when you have that, then you open the doors for upekkha, the equanimity that comes like a, it's like a tablecloth that you set, where everything else that comes and be placed upon the table has to touch it. And the tablecloth touches everything. It's everywhere. But it's everywhere only with that type of a mind that's maturing, that's training. With what? With discipline. Now each of these has within it wisdom as well. Each of these factors. So the wisdom is the one that comes in the form of sati here. And by the way, that's where upekkha is. Upekkha is upekkha. Equanimity is able to stay in that state of equanimity thanks to the maturity that equanimity has. And that maturity comes from the experiencing of all these levels, which gives you what? Panya, wisdom, which is not listed as a separate segment of the 7 factors of awakening, but it's found, nevertheless, within it. You can see it in Dhamma Vichaya, which I mentioned as number 2. You can also see it in upekkha, which most people don't see it, but it's there. So this is a matter of balancing on your part. So did we stop at faith? Did we just say to ourselves, well, I have confidence in the teacher, I have confidence in the Buddha even? Well, that's how you get cults. That's how you get blind followers. And that's how people sometimes crash and burn and develop this callous relationship with themselves and the practice, and in some cases, unfortunately, completely walk away or go find themselves another cult leader or completely, leave and go do something else. Write a book. Or say, well, I used to be a monk. Ooh, that sells books, right? That gives you some audience members, like if you're wanting to be a speaker or a motivational speaker or something like that, which the world never seems to be short of. Faith without discipline, without proper training, without wisdom, without applying proper checks and balances, as the saying goes, will keep you and maintain you as a sheep. And I believe that life, your life, is far greater in potential than turning you into a sheep, into a dullard, into a person who's not going or gone all the way to where this path leads. Way too many are those individuals. I cannot count, even in my head, how many disappointments I've come across of individuals who've started this path and fell off. Some students, but majority individuals that I've come across. Those that my tradition calls elders, or teras, or mahateras in many cases. Teachers, where they attach themselves to one thing, which, by the way, had to do with their likes and dislikes. And this is where, again, what I was mentioning yesterday about wanting the Dhamma to be according to your own terms, to reveal itself to you according to your own terms, for you to practice the Dhamma according to your own terms. So, having faith according to your own terms, minus discipline, minus the training, where is that going to lead you, really? You cannot stay stationary on this path for long, by the way. We either evolve, progress in our practice, and you see that demonstrated in the quality of your life, in the quality of your heart. What state are you in? There needs to be some type of an evidence that tells you clearly, flat out, that you are not the same person as you were before, prior to this happening. So that is already a big clue that you're doing the right thing. So this requires, again, honesty, truthfulness, and, of course, something I keep repeating, humility, which, again, is lacking in today's practitioners, in today's world in general. I was mentioning yesterday how there's this unprecedented level of mass conceit in society. There's obviously false humility to get some things from someone or some people. That's also there. You see it from the top to the bottom. Top as in teachers, all the way down. There's dishonesty when it comes to the lifestyle or the teachings even, or the behavior of a teacher. And that seems to be proportionate to the fame of the person, how much they can talk about it or reveal it or hide it. The things that are incongruous, the things that are that have nothing to do with the Dhamma, of living a pure life. Many people keep hiding those qualities, given the fame of the person, or how well known, or how many followers they have. They literally will cover things up. Not just from others seeing it, but even from themselves, to maintain their faith, because it's shattered. I personally know of individuals who to this day believe that they are noble disciples. I'm talking hundreds, if not maybe thousands. I don't know thousands, but I know quite a number of them who have gone to, quote-unquote, teach what their teacher, who was giving them these certificates, verbal certificates that they have attained. Now he's dead and gone. Neither he attained, nor these people, nor these students of his have attained. This is heartbreaking. I tried warning the teacher, their teacher. Never listened. But the teacher is gone, having to face whatever he has to face. But those of his students, followers, they're still, whoever, alive. Many of them are alive. Majority of them are alive. what are they doing? They still have a brain, they still have a heart, but there's this blind cult-like following that is propelled, that is animated by the desire to not let go of this thing they heard, that they have attained, for example. They must be a noble disciple, or they must even be an arahant, fully awakened person. Why? Because the teacher said so. Because the teacher confirmed. Well, who cares about what that is? Every moment you need to be checking yourself. To see if you have been improving. But many of us today in the world are telling ourselves lies. People believe that we live in a modern, civilized world. Really? Nothing could be further from the truth. Where do you see that? I fail to see that. In this 21st century, some of the things that I encounter, I'm like surprised. But it's amazing the lies we tell ourselves. So faith, unfortunately, oftentimes has nothing to do with genuine, pure, honest, true faith. And that's what I'm trying to say. Faith on its own, it can't stand on its own. It's like a table with 4 legs, but it's only standing on 1 leg. Without repositioning into the center, by the way, to make this analogy work. Just 4 legs, wherever the legs are supposed to be, or a chair, or a table, and you cut off the other 3 from where they were. And now that leg, that single leg, is that going to be able to support the chair? No. You can't sit on that. You can't put stuff on that table. But we are so strange because we hold on to one thing and we go with that, and in spite of what the facts are telling us, screaming at us. Now that person, or those crowds I was mentioning, who believe that they are noble disciples, or they're awakened, or they've experienced Nibbana, different levels of it, they have plenty of opportunities, so long as they're alive, to look at their lives with some candid awareness, with some truthfulness, and just say, I'm breaking sila here and there. What is that I'm feeling in my heart? Oh, that's hatred. Okay, does Lord Buddha have anything to do with has he ever said anything about arahants who have hatred in their hearts? Or noble disciples who have hatred in their hearts? If he hasn't, or if he has always criticized such individuals as frauds, and I'm experiencing this, and while I'm calling myself a noble disciple, while I'm calling myself a person who's experienced Nibbana or even arahantship, what does that make me? A fraud. They don't ask these questions. Why? Because they go back to that initial, well, I have faith in my teacher who told me that I did attain. You see how grotesque. This is one example. Earlier I was giving another example of individuals who have turned the Dhamma or the Buddhist path into something unidentifiable with the Dhamma, completely, having nothing to do with it at all, because they blindly follow a teacher or their writings. You will have this. But all these craziness, all these other outside circumstances are just that. They're outside circumstances. What is your faith doing for you? That's the question you need to ask. And if it's not taking you closer and closer to a state of beauty, a state of ongoing revelation of yourself and your own, the nuances of your brain, the different layers of your brain, giving you insight after insight, where you're not putting others down so that you feel good about yourself or your practice. Nor are you going by what your teacher or your fellow practitioners are telling about you. Oh, look at you. You're such a big person now. You must be, awakened. Leaving all that nonsense aside and just going and testing it on yourself. Living with yourself. Spending a portion of the day with yourself and being honest with yourself. And if you see that so-called faith is a cover-up, your cover-up, no one else's ultimately, then don't fret, just go back to the basics. There just needs to be some balancing, rebalancing, and use the spiritual faculties I mentioned, the Pancha Indriya, or the Satta Bojjhangas, or the 7 factors of awakening, and those are really going to help you to rebalance. Faith is not bad. Lord Buddha listed it. Faith is necessary. That level of confidence is absolutely necessary. But you need to put it always under scrutiny. You need to be applying wisdom throughout. You need to be applying sati throughout, mindfulness. So there are no breaks. That's what I'm trying to say. And don't go by that wanting to feel this spiritual upliftment type of a excitedness, type of an inspiration in order for you to be practicing. No, the practice comes alive thanks to your discipline, which means it has everything to do with your commitment, consistency. When you wake up, you're expecting the sun to be up. Okay? The sun doesn't say, well, for 64 days in a row, I was rising over the horizon, and it's like, today I'm just going to call it a day and just take a sick leave. No, there's no such thing. Life cannot go on like that. Commitment. A mother cannot look at the child and say, you know what, I'm not going to give you love today because I'm not in the mood. That's not a mother. That's something else. Someone else pretending to be a mother based on her own terms, which we have a lot of, by the way, today too, in so-called mothers or parents in general. No, you don't take a time out. It's commitment that's necessary. It's not a sometimes affair, I used to tell people in the past. This practice, or love, you need to maintain it. Otherwise it will become a discarded garden where shrubs and things grow, and the beautiful hydrangeas and gardenias and the beautiful fruit trees are going to be wiped out. The trail or the paths that you had established in the garden, they're going to be gone. Why? Because you're going to have crawlers and parasitical plants growing everywhere and suffocating the life out of everything that you've striven so hard to bring about. So maintaining has everything to do with commitment, which has everything to do with consistency, which has to do with wisdom being applied to help regenerate more growth every single day, thanks to you having that spark in your heart called faith. So it's not a solo worker, this thing called faith. It's a joint effort.